Yeah, make sure the hairs are good.
Of course.
Okay, we are here with one of our fans, Joanne. She won the contest for the Paranormal Pizza Party. Now, last week, unfortunately, she was unable to join us due to a snowstorm that took her internet out. So we were able to reschedule for this week. So we're very pleased that Joanne has a chance to meet with Trevor Mack, one of our directors on the other side, and also Jeff Richards, the team lead of our paranormal hosts. So I'm Katrina German. I'm part of the digital team, and I'll just be the moderator for this conversation. And basically, this is just an opportunity for one of our fans to have a close-up one-to-one conversation, even in this digital space on the computers, with both Jeff and Trevor. So, Joanne, did you want to start with a couple of, did I have a question you wanted to ask anybody?
Where do you get your stories from? Because some of them just freaked me the heck right out, I'm telling you. Especially the last one, I was like, I had goosebumps, especially when it said keep it. I'm like, oh my God. And that was it. Yeah.
Yeah, Jeff, I guess a lot of the stories, some of it is, I guess, half and half user submitted, user submitted, or we have a team, the production company is a team, and they have several people that they go out and look for stories. And I think this year it must have been maybe 75% of it was submitted stories. And then what happens is myself and the other director and our line producer, about 2 months before we actually shoot, we went to all the locations and we kind of pre-interviewed all of the people in the locations, and then we go from there. And then we, if the stories kind of work, we essentially we kind of pitch it with the other producers and say, okay, this is this story at this location. And then if we get a thumbs up, we start.
Team up. Okay.
What I think is amazing is the volume of stories that we had in season 1 and season 2. I think it's increasing all the time. So it always seems like we are getting more and more stories coming from our viewers. So, even if yourself or, anyone has a story, submit those stories, because there's a chance that you could actually be a part of our show at some point. Like that's happened before. I had someone call into my radio program that I had a little while back with a story, and that ended up being an episode. So you never know. Like stories can come from viewers. They can come from just all over the place. It's amazing.
Oh.
And I'd just like to jump in really quick too. As a person who sees a lot of the stories coming in through the digital, through Facebook and through email, it's really quite incredible, the diversity of things that people are seeing. Like it's really quite neat. So if you have any sort of haunting stories, share it with the digital team. Put it on Facebook.
No, just me in the morning. That's pretty much the only haunting I have.
Oh.
What else did I want to ask? Okay, Jeff, do you get some kind of a sensation all the time, or does it, like when you're going places, do you feel a lot of this, or is it, I don't know how to ask it properly. Like, is it always turned on for you?
You know what? It shouldn't always be turned on, but unfortunately, sometimes, especially when I'm working on the program, it is turned on. And I've had visitations, and I've had dreams and things that have happened in past seasons where I dream something before we arrive. So it's almost like I'm in touch with whatever is there, sometimes before we even get to the place where we're going, which is really interesting. Very often from the point that I'm entering a location, when I arrive, I do my initial process, which is me going in and listening to and feeling and tuning into the energy of the space. That's when I bring out my journal and I start to do my free writing process, and I go through that whole sort of arrangement, and that's when the information really starts to come to me. But it's on always, and I try to keep it turned on always while we're actually shooting. I mean, obviously there are times when we're having, the social time or just sort of downtime during the day of a shoot, and then I kind of try to turn it off a bit, but you never know when things are going to come through. So I try to keep it on as much as possible. So to answer your question, yeah.
Okay.
I open myself up and I just let whatever the energy of the space or the energy of the spirit that we're dealing with just sort of come through as much or as little as it wants to.
Yeah, if I can just come kind of interject. Jeff, you should just talk about what happened in Fort McMurray. Do you remember what happened on your door on the
Yes, yeah. So when we were shooting the Empress Theater episode of the program, I had actually placed, because everybody was getting some just strange vibes and different things. As a group, our dynamics seemed to really shift with that episode, and it was a very odd time. It was a very odd experience that we were all having. So I actually placed some protective black salt just outside of my door, down a closed hallway where there's no wind or anything of that nature. And in the morning, the salt had been completely pushed away, like cleared away from my door.
No way.
Either by potentially by a human hand. I can't confirm or deny that because there aren't any security cameras in that space, but something definitely moved that salt. So, I think being open is important at all times, but also trying not to have things sort of follow and tag along, which we have a real issue with on our show for one reason or another. There seems to be certain energies that want to persist through the years with us. So that's just one story of kind of keeping myself open and having that experience even off camera.
Have you ever had a spirit follow you from one place to another, as in like you're investigating one thing and whatever it is or whomever you were speaking to make an appearance or push through and want to talk to you when you're someplace else? Totally.
Tom's had experiences where people that potentially he's dealing with some of his work that he does outside of the show as a tracker, as a finder of missing persons. He's had individuals and people connected with that side of his life come through. Michaela had a very interesting experience in the Bellevue mine, where something seemed to come through that wasn't directly connected with the spirits we were dealing with there. And on the show, we've had this sort of overlying character come through a variety of ways and in a variety of locations, and sometimes railroad an investigation completely and take it over in some way. But that definitely happens and has happened.
Oh, that's fascinating. It would scare the crap out of me myself, but I think that is just so mind-blowing. Really. You treat everything with such respect too. When I first watched, I'm like, oh, okay, well, we'll see. And then I kind of got addicted because I didn't realize the level you were going to go to, the details, but just the respect that you pay to all of these spirits for, you call them spirits. Yes? No?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think, Trevor, on the production side, our production team, they take the same respect we take on camera, they take off camera, and that really carries through. It's not just a part of the presence of the show. It's real. Like the respect is there with every single person that touches the program. And my sort of philosophy has always been, when we're dealing with spirit, this is somebody's mother, somebody's father, somebody's sister or brother. This is a real living person, or they were at one point. So why would we not interact with them the way we would if we were actually standing face to face? If I'm having a conversation with Joanne and Trevor and Katrina right now, I'm not going to come in and be like, talk to me or else I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to have that I'm not going to egg you on. I'm going to try to interact with you because we're just meeting for the first time. So we're going to have a polite conversation, a respectful conversation. It's no different with spirit, no different at all.
Where did you get your equipment from? Who created it? It just blows my mind. When touch the light, I'm like, oh my gosh, no, and it's beeping and flashing and the device that I can't remember what it's called, that they speak through it. Where did that come from?
That is called, all the devices, when we use those devices in the paranormal community, we would call that ITC, or instrumental trans communication, which is sort of a fancy way to say we're talking to spirit using electronic devices, not just, our physical beings or things that are non-electronic. The devices themselves, the K2 meter was created by people for the electrical field, for electricians. It's not a ghost hunting tool. It's something that's used by professional electricians to try to find EMF bleed spots when they're working on different projects. So that's where that comes from. The other devices, like the Ghost Box, as an example, was originally created by a guy named Frank Sumption, and I believe that this is probably about 50, almost maybe 40 years ago. I don't know the exact number, but he basically just took an old radio from Radio Shack and modified it ever so slightly so that it would sweep across the different frequencies and use that to begin to communicate with spirit. And that was sort of the first time that came through. Gary Galka is a current creator of these devices. He's manufactured the Mel meter, which we use on the program, and the current version of the Ghost Box, or the PSP7, the Spirit Box. So these devices usually come from the real world. These are things that exist in the real world that have either slightly been modified for the additional added benefit of using them to communicate with spirit, or they're still just real world objects that you can use, like a radio from Radio Shack tuned to white noise has been used to communicate with spirit before, just like a television tuned to the channel with pure static. There are experiments that they've been doing for years, since the creation of the TV, to try to communicate with spirit using just that static. So, there's a variety of creators for these devices, and maybe Trevor, you can talk a little bit more about the technology and sort of how that works.
The technology for what specifically?
But just like where we get our gear from, and then how you, maybe as a director, how you, like, do you have a favorite device that you like to see us use?
Oh yeah, actually, my favorite device that the team used was the oh man, I'm totally forgetting the name. It was the where we get actual images from. What was that called again?
The SLS X-Cam?
The SLS X-Cam, yeah, that was my favorite device, not only because, as a director, it kind of just made everything look cool. What happened was, we can actually get an actual visual, real-time visual of, what we're seeing, and that was, that was an incredible experience at the Empress.
And all that cam is it's a modified Xbox Connect for the video game system, the Xbox. That's all it is. They've just taken that and they've then moved it over to the ghost hunting world. So that's where a lot of the gear comes from. Normal stuff you have in your house probably right now.
Yeah, I got a lot of electronics. Yeah, I could probably build a whole bunch of stuff. What else did I want to ask? Okay, have you ever spoke to anyone that you actually know?
Like personal family members?
Yes.
I have, but I haven't in the context of the show. I've never had a family member come through. We didn't have an opportunity to verify it because it is sort of a sensitive area of discussion. But in the mine, as I referenced earlier, Michaela had potentially something was saying that we kind of connected dots and thought that maybe it was her brother or somebody connected in some way to that. And you can see that clip. I think we actually posted it as part of the online additional stuff.
Yeah.
Our Facebook page and through Twitter. So, and Tom has had individuals come through as well that are personally connected to him. But myself, I've never had that. And I think part of it though is because I want to sort of I keep that stuff. And I can't control when they come through. Obviously, none of us can. But it hasn't happened for me for whatever reason. I can't really speak to why or why it has not happened.
Okay, that's good to know. What else did I want? I had so many questions in my head. I wish I had written them down, but of course,
oh, that's good.
I didn't. Okay, what about animals? Have you ever felt the spirit of an animal?
This is sort of up for debate, I guess, in some way. I believe personally, I felt the spirit of an animal when we participated in a sweat lodge in season 2, the Dakota Teepee episode where we were in the old pawn shop, and gas station area. We went to a sweat, myself and Bill, and there was an owl spirit that came into the lodge that I feel in my heart and soul was truly there, and I felt that spirit. But in season 1, Tom, in the North Battleford, the Millman episode where I was scratched, Tom theorized that was a bear spirit that had attacked me. So I'd say, yeah, we have had the spirits and animals come through. People say like, well, how come, and I get asked this question a lot, if ghosts are real, why aren't there like dinosaur ghosts?
Oh yeah.
And all, like, and there's a number of reasons why that wouldn't happen, I think, but it's not to say that it can't happen and that we haven't had those sorts of energies come through. We can't verify that. We can't really gauge what that is necessarily. So maybe it has happened. We just don't know how to quantify it.
Good point. Yeah. I don't think I personally want to be speaking with a dinosaur spirit. Mind you, they're mostly just cranky because their brain's like this big, right? So, okay, that's good. I don't have any more questions because I have so much going on in my head right now. I was just so excited to do all this.
What's your favorite episode, Joanne?
Pardon?
What's your favorite episode?
Oh, well, mine was until I saw the last episode, okay, which was by far, besides it broke my heart for all those children, okay. It just, like, I had tears in my eyes. I'm like, oh my God. And then the pictures, and I'm just like, oh, and I just hope that they all got relief. I have goosebumps now again, but I hope that they all found someplace better to be than where they were. But before that, it was the mine. And when especially when the meter went off and everything, there's just not a whole lot of electricity down there. I'm thinking, okay, that can't be fake. That's got to be real, because what else is there but just them? Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, and yeah, with the Bellevue mine episode, we our first guest, or who went with Jeff and Michaela. I forgot her name now. My memory is like just,
oh, I know. Yes, of course.
Now.
Yes.
But she commented, Jeff asked her what did you think about the investigation? And she said, well, when you're watching it on TV, you kind of think, oh, maybe some things are a little fishy, but she said straight up, nothing was rehearsed. There's nothing that is, I mean, trust me, I've been with Jeff, like I traveled with him for months on end. And, when people ask me like, oh, come on, are there any tricks that you guys pull? And, I was there watching everybody. I'm kind of there the whole time. And,
yep.
Everything is completely, we want, and Jeff can attest to this, we don't want to be a show known for kind of pulling some strings and for just to be dramatic and just to try to be good TV. We don't really want to do that. We want to be as genuine as possible, and and Jeff is definitely a big advocate for that.
I've been
somebody connected with the production in season 1 said, well, what if we don't get a ghost? What if there aren't any spirits? And what if they don't come out, they don't interact? And I said, then we don't get a ghost. Like there's nothing we can do. And I think that the moment when a show takes what's very real sort of material and pretties it up or makes it more sensational with strings, and I've heard of teams in the past faking cold spots by taking a can of like frozen peas or something and putting it behind an object so it appears on an IR camera. Like there are all sorts of ways that other programs have maybe, it's alleged, faked or created fictional type of scienarios. And we don't want to do that on our show. We want things to be as above board and real and legitimate as possible. And everybody from the highest level producer, our creator Jennifer Podemsky, and everyone that's involved in the show, they're on board with that. So there's nothing that is sort of edited or altered or changed. And I mean, obviously there are things that occur that maybe we talk about that we don't film or we can't film because we've got a fairly small crew that travels with us, so we don't have cameras on us at all times. But even those experiences legitimately occurred. It's not like we're concocting or creating these stories. Like we're experiencing these things exactly as you see them. And that's a real, I'll sort of tip my hat to Trevor and to Rob and everyone else involved on the backside, because you got a great job of you've done a great job of really telling the story as sort of as it happened, truthfully, without a lot that's sort of jumbled or mixed up. Like, I never watch an episode myself as someone who's been there and go, wait a minute, that actually happened in reverse order. There's nothing like that. Like, the linear timeline of the episode follows the way the investigation unfolded. It's really remarkable.
You can tell that it's sincere. So when I first started watching it, I felt like, oh my God, this is really real. I never got a sense of there being anything fake or rehearsed or anything, especially just the facial expressions and the way all of a sudden someone stiffens up and I'm waiting there going, oh, what is that? What is that? And I want to applaud you all, because it doesn't at any way seem anything other than genuine and real. And I think that's wonderful.
There are times when I appear scared. I'm actually scared. Like,
you can see it in your face.
There are several moments. There are moments that happened in season 1, season 2, and in this current season where I'm genuinely like, I'm mystified as a viewer. I scare really easy, and Trevor and Katrina can kind of attest to that. They were actually hiding cameras at various points. They jump out, so I have that happen. But I think here's probably one thing that will maybe kind of encourage you and your thought of us being sincere even more so. I think that a number of people that work on this show are skeptics, truthfully. We are sort of skeptical observers of everything that's occurring. And, I can't speak directly, and I've never asked Trevor this question before, but I'm going to ask him now. But would you have considered yourself sort of a skeptic coming into the project, Trevor? Like, what was
I would have definitely considered myself a skeptic. And after the show and after what we've all experienced together, and just what you guys have experienced, and so what happens is, during investigations, myself as the director, we kind of set up some monitors outside of the house, or outside of the location where the team, Jeff, Michaela, are investigating, and I'm sitting there, and I wish you could see what my facial expressions are, because like I'm if you see Jeff and Michaela scared, I'm like, I'm so scared, and yet I'm kind of in the safety of all of these monitors. And what we've experienced, I just can I can just say that now I don't know what's going on out there. I can't say for sure. Like, it's definitely freaking me out, and it has freaked me out. And now I have to, it's just something that you can't, when somebody's like a skeptic, or when they don't believe, like you can't just explain it to them. You have to be there and experience it. And when you experience it, you can't just explain that to somebody.
No, I don't believe so either. It's either you believe, or you have to be proven, or experience it for yourself, or you just believe. And I have an open mind, because I just believe, because there's something else out there. Please.
Can I ask you a question, Joanne?
Certainly.
Can I flip this and ask you a question? Have you ever had an experience yourself that you would term to be something that is paranormal, or some sort of interaction with spirit yourself?
When I was 14 years old, my grandpa died, and we were very close. I hadn't seen him for about 5.5 months, but when we were little, he used to put a penny in a little copper pot. And when he passed away, we couldn't find the pot anywhere. And I was sleeping, and I woke up, and he was at the end of my bed. And he told me where the pot was, and he also told me that he would keep coming back and visiting me as long as I didn't tell anyone. So, of course, in the morning, I got up and I told everybody, and he never came back. But I went to my grandma's, and I went behind the little alcove there, and there was the pot. Freaked me right out. I'm like, Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I didn't tell anyone, besides my sister who blabbed it to everybody, I didn't tell a whole lot of people for many years because I thought people would think I was nuts. Most people do. They just nod their head and do that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure that happened, and I'm like, okay, fine. I don't care. But yes, I have.
Wow. That sounds like a beautiful experience. And, it's those types of things that, those human connections with spirit that I think are so powerful. When you have a family member or when we have somebody who is connected to your line of work, with the people we connected with that were, minors and bringing minors in, or in the episodes where we had family members where we connected a mother with her son, with Ivy and her little boy in one of our episodes. There's nothing more powerful in my mind than the connection that we can potentially make with our ancestors and our relatives and our dear loved ones who passed away. So that's a gift. That's a wonderful thing.
I agree.
So we're going to be wrapping this up. We have basically time for one more question or comment. So Joanne, do you have any last thoughts that you'd like to ask these guys?
Yes, really important. Is there going to be another season? Please. Yes, no.
I'll defer to Trevor. he probably knows more than I do at this point.
Yeah, well, we can't. I can't say for sure, or else, I think some bad things will happen to me. But yeah, we can't say for sure. But judging from, fans such as yourself, we've been getting amazing feedback, and we've just grown. The fan base for the show has grown so much more, and Katrina can attest to that because you run all of the social media for the show. But judging from the success that season 3 has had so far, I'm optimistic, and I'd like to say that there's going to be a season 4. I can't not see a season 4. I think that's as far as I can.
That's good enough for me. That way I won't be all disappointed and everything. You know what? It'll just be a lot of positive thought and hoping.
I'm a fan of bold predictions and using my intuitive skill set to make bold predictions. And I think you'll be seeing a lot more of the other side, the other side team in the future in one capacity or another. So stay tuned for sure.
I will.
Yeah.
I will.
Okay, well, we're going to wrap that up. Thank you so much for participating, Joanne. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you so much.
Trevor. We are, as we said, we're not sure about season 4, but it's been an incredible first 3 seasons, and I think season 3 really knocked it out of the park. And we were happy to welcome Trevor as a new director. Him and Rob King did an amazing job. Jeff continuing to lead the team and doing incredible things, and Joanne representing the incredible fans who are just really, stepping up on social media and participating in this show. They're not just watching; people are participating, and that's just a really exciting thing to be a part of. I think there's a revolution happening in paranormal shows, and I think that we're leading it. So,
absolutely. Thank you so much.
Yes. Okay, I'm going to stop the recording now, and have a good night.